Hey, this is Mark Hundley, and I want to welcome you. Um, let's see, it's telling me can't rotate my device. I'm just going to leave it as is. Um, Welcome to my first Live at 5. I had an idea. I had some folks say to me, Mark, why don't you put on some videos and share some of your thoughts with us that way? And I thought that was rather intriguing. I do a lot of writing, I do a lot of speaking in addition to being a school counselor and having a private practice and doing some supervision. And so I just have a lot of words. My wife tells me all the time that I have more words than the average woman, so get ready for that. In all seriousness, I really want to do this and bring some thoughts to you, some questions perhaps from time to time, about 5 days a week. So my intent is to do something like this Monday through Friday about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Generally, I'm going to work to keep them short. Now, today's may be a little longer than normal, but I intend to keep them short, maybe a couple of minutes, and just share some thoughts and some ideas that could be useful to you. Um, this is a really tough time. This is a hard time for all of us as we begin to figure out how to negotiate everything that's going on with COVID and being at home and either being at home alone or with our family or with a partner or with a pet. It's tough to figure out how to do this on a daily basis, really not knowing how long it's going to last. And so as a result, finding ways to do this well becomes part of the challenge. So what I'd like to do today is just share a few thoughts with you about something that I call the law of the harvest. Now, I was born in a really small West Texas town up in the Panhandle, Memphis, Texas. And although I didn't live there all my life, I lived there periodically throughout my growing up years and graduated high school there. I did spend every summer in Memphis, and I spent that time with my grandmother. Now, my grandmother was an amazing gardener, among other things. She could cook like no one's business, but she was an amazing gardener, and she had this amazing garden every year. One of the things that I learned through being a part of that summer process is that there's a law of the harvest that actually has three parts. And the parts are: you harvest what you plant, you harvest more than you plant, and you harvest later than you plant. And I know you're saying, Mark, that's kind of dumb. I get that. Well, sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. At least we do in the real gardening world, we get it. We know that if we plant a green bean, we're going to get a green bean plant full of other green beans. That was one of the things that my grandmother planted and grew all the time. So she would plant a green bean, and lo and behold, after a while, a green bean plant would emerge from the soil. But not just a plant. On that plant were many green beans. So from one little green bean seed, I guess you could call it, grew a plant that had multiple green beans, and they grew throughout the summer. The third part of that was that it just didn't happen overnight. It took a while. And so sometimes we find ourselves wondering what's going to happen if I do something different today or if I do something different tomorrow. The law of the harvest, in the same way that you plant a green bean, you harvest what you plant. You plant a green bean, you don't get corn. Why? Because you didn't plant corn. You get what you plant. You get more than you plant, and you get it later. In life, it's the same way. In our relationships, in our education, our pursuit of education, in our communications, in our values, and looking at our dreams and our goals and our hopes, all of those things follow that same path. We harvest what we plant. We harvest more than we plant, and we harvest later than we plant. Now, right now, in some of our lives, I know in mine it happens every day, I'm the beneficiary of some of the planting that I've done in the past. Some of it's good and some of it's not so good. So I'm still reaping some of that and working to decide what to do with that. But while we're home, while we're working from home and trying to figure out who we are and where we are and what's going on, perhaps we can begin to focus just a little bit better, a little bit more mindfully on the things that we plant in our own thinking, in our self-care, in our communications with others, in pursuing and the values and the dreams that we hold so dearly, in our attitudes and perceptions of others. Perhaps we can start being more mindful of the things we plant in those arenas, knowing that we have to nurture them, we have to weed them, we have to fertilize them and take care of them, knowing that there's going to be a harvest based on what we plant today. So, like I said, this is a little bit longer than the normal time. Usually it's going to be about a minute or two, maybe three in the afternoon. But I really enjoy this. I don't necessarily enjoy looking at myself, but I enjoy talking to you, at least through a virtual capacity. I know enough about technology to be dangerous. But join me tomorrow afternoon. Tomorrow at 5, we're going to talk a little bit about living with uncertainty. So join me for that time. And I hope that the law of the harvest has taken hold in your heart and in your mind, and perhaps you can begin to do something different with it today. Now, I'm going to be really unprofessional. I have no clue how to turn this thing off. So I'm going to put my glasses back on, see if I can find a way to turn it off, and wish you a very, very good evening. Thank you.